Hello, good morning and welcome back to the Fish Locker out on the boat. Out on a stunning morning on the boat. We as fishermen, these are the type of conditions that we dream about. Now I went out the other day with a friend of mine and the fishing was just starting to switch on. The water's starting to warm up, you can see the weather, we're starting to get a little bit of a summer, fingers crossed. And the bait fish have just started to arrive. Now the tides that we went out on the other day were quite slack. They're starting to pick up, so hopefully the fishing is only going to improve. Today I'm going to be doing some light lure fishing over a reef. I will explain the rods, the rigs, the tactics, everything as I am doing it. We just need to get where we're going. Let's go. First little area of reef that I'm going to try is quite deep and we are drifting very fast. We're drifting at about 2 knots. We'll just give it a try. Just coming past and I thought, why not? Because the tide's running quite fast and because we're on a deeper area of reef, I'm using the heavier setup that I brought. This is a Penn Conflict and this is a 50 gram, 30 to 50 gram. Yes, I am right. Max 50 gram. I've got 2. I was just checking, I was talking about the right one. And this is a Slammer 4, 4,500. And I'm fishing with a 40 gram lure. All I'm going to do is I'm going to drift down over this reef at an incredibly fast pace and hopefully pick a pollock up. You will see as the reef is down there. And the tide is running this way. We also have a little tiny bit of wind. As we start, the tide's going to go up over the reef. So imagine the tide's coming like that and it's going to go over the reef. As it comes over the reef, we are going to get some disturbed water. So we are going to get into a little bit of turbulence in a minute. And all that is just, it's the water rolling over the reef. See what I mean about how it's quite sloppy in here now? We'll swing that round and have another go at that because I think that's got some potential. All I'm letting the lure do, because we're running so fast, I'm sorry there's a lot of pollen in the air and it's really getting at me today. Yeah, all I'm doing is I'm letting the lure drop right down to the seabed and then quickly winding it back up. Whoa, what have we got down here? I think this is mackerel. Because I've just had something hit that like 4 or 5 times. But it's not big enough to take it. Yeah, there's a rattle in the tail of the lure and it swims. So as I'm reeling it up, it swims up to the boat. And a fish will chase it. Yeah, I did feel fish hitting the back of that lure, but it wasn't like a pollock strike or a bass strike, it was more like a whack, so I've got a feeling it's mackerel. So what I've done is I've just chucked on a little tiny spinner, and that's on me. This is a Conflict tie rubber, max £20. It's a PE 0.8 to 1.5, and I've got a fathom low profile on there. This is my lighter fun setup, so I'm hoping that this is going to find mackerel. Or whatever it was, it could have just been a little tiny pollock, but I have a feeling that it's going to be mackerel. Just by the way that they were hitting the lure. It always surprises me because I mean like today, conditions are as close to perfect as you're going to find. And yet I'm the only boat out here. Come on, what we got? What we got? Oh yes. That one took on the drop. Oh, easy tiger. Yeah, that one took on the drop. It's not mackerel, it's just little pollock. There you go, look, see? There's a little spinner in its mouth. That's a good sign. First fish out of the way. First fish out of the way, and I'm blasting through on this reef. There we go. See if we can't find something bigger. Yeah, this tie rubber setup here. You get a jigging rod or one of these tie rubber rods, matched with something small like this Fathom low profile. They are amazing fun for just scratching about for light stuff. I mean, I've got a, I think that's a 30 gram. It's either a 25 gram or a 30 gram jig on it. When you know that most of the fish you're going to be catching are going to be sub £10, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're fishing for them too heavy. You see how we've hit that disturbed water again? All the water's real turbulent because it's gone over the reef. Try that again. Yeah, we are currently in, right now we're in 27 metres of water. When we're going over the reef, we're in 12 metres of water. So you've got to get 27 metres of water through a 12 metre gap. That's why it gets so turbulent. Oh, yes. He is just hooked. There you go. Just exactly the same as before. And all just a little jigging setup. Now this, big enough to keep legally, but it's too small. In my opinion, it's too small. The fillets on them are only really thin. I won't be keeping a pollock unless it's maybe, here's that confused water again. I won't be keeping a pollock unless it's maybe £5 or £6. What I have done is when I've located where the fish are on the reef, they're actually just before all the turbulent water. So all I'm doing now is drifting down over the patch of where the fish are. What I'll try and do is I'll try and record what my sound is showing to show you where the fish. As the bank goes up like that, they're sat just before the turbulent water. Down on the seabed at about 26 metres. And I'm trying to get up ahead of them, drop my lure down so it reaches the bottom where they are. Oh, there's one, straight away. These are the fish sat at around 26 metres near the seabed. As I hook into one and start playing it up to the surface, you can see the fish on the screen. Because this is a light setup, because this is a small jig with small hooks, you've got to kind of take it easy. You can't horse them up. Oh, it's off. That's a shame. Just as I was saying about the small hooks, you've got to be careful with them because the hooks are only tiny. That was unfortunate. I've got a slightly bent treble on the bottom, that might have done it. But yeah, I've only got a small window where the fish are because look, I'm in the turbulent water again now. So I've got a window of about maybe 100 yards, and when you're drifting at 2.2 knots, it gives you about 40 seconds. Might as well start the engine now, go around and try them again. Now this area of reef what I'm fishing on here, it's not a big area of reef. Because we're drifting so fast, I can only do short drifts. I can only do drifts for a couple of minutes at a time. And if I haven't managed to capitalise on where the fish are, I'm past them, I'm gone because I'm going at 2.2 knots. if you have a big area of reef, so if you have miles and miles and miles of it, you can just keep drifting and keep drifting and keep drifting. And if you haven't got a fish, just keep fishing. Oh, got you. Got to take it easy because of the small hooks. That is a nice pollock, that. That is a very nice pollock. Oh, just in time. Just before we got to all that disturbed water. Easy does it, easy does it. See that spinner in his mouth? That was how easy it came out. That was why you've got to be really careful with him. If I'd have given him any slack on the way up, he would have been gone. That is better. Yeah. Immediately you can see the difference when we get in that disturbed water. I'm going to go back round and I'm going to try that one more time. This isn't the area of reef where I want to fish, but there's an old fishing saying that you should never leave fish to find fish. Try one more drift. If we get a fish on that one, we'll stick it out for a little bit longer. And this is what it all looked like on the sounder. Hooked into the fish right on the seabed, played it up through the water column, and after being released, this is the fish swimming back down to the seabed. All I've got on here is I've got £20 braid and a 25 pound fluoro leader, a little swivel, and this is a 30 gram spinner. I'm keeping my thumb on the spool, not only so when it hits the bottom it doesn't keep going, but if someone picks it up on the drop, I feel it. Just dropping down to the bottom and being real quick about it as well, because if you sit on the bottom for too long when you're drifting real fast, you will snag up. You snag the bottom straight away and you'll end up losing your lure. Oh, there's a fish. Feels like a pollock. Go again. Just before we hit all the turbulent water. Now, when you're fishing jigs like this, I do recommend taking the hooks out with a set of snips like that. I just use my Leatherman. But fish, they do thrash. So the last thing that you want when you're trying to unhook one, it thrashes and one of these hooks gets stuck in your hand as well. A lot has to be said for matching the hatch. As in, I'm only using a really small spinner here. Now, looking around, there is a lot of baitfish about, and it is absolutely minuscule. It's tiny, tiny sand eels and little tiny sprats. So the bait that's in the water is no more than 3 inches long. So there's no point me using a great massive lure because they're used to feeding on fish that's half that size. Got you. Got you. Yeah. All I was doing was I dropped straight to the bottom and then get a couple of fast winds to flutter the... Oh, it's come off. Yeah, I'm not surprised. We're approaching all that rough water. As soon as we get up here where the rough water is, it goes from like 1.8 knots and I'm now going at 2.6 knots. So as soon as we've hit that rough water there, it's just extra pull on these little hooks. But it was only just under the boat. Yeah, that last fish felt like a nice fish. But the only problem there is, like I said, they're only small hooks. I've got a light rod, so I can't put a lot of pressure on them. And at the moment, now that we're 200 yards up from that disturbed water, we're drifting at 1.2 knots, 1.3 knots. As soon as we get into that disturbed water, because it goes over the top of the reef, it speeds right up. Puts extra pressure on the fish. So as I'm pulling one way with the boat drifting, and the fishes wanted to swim the other way with the tide, it's put extra pressure on it. Got ya. Try and keep this one on. Get in that net. That is the better fish. That is a much better fish. And the way I kept it on the hooks was by a running boat astern to keep myself away from all this disturbed water. There's your lure. There's your puller. That's the size of the hook that I caught it on. That is actually the perfect size for me to take for a fillet. I'm going to keep this and we're going to eat this. There we are, just a little spinner, this conflict tie rubber and a fathom low profile. Got you. Oh, yeah, I did get you. The jig, it flutters in the water, so all I'm doing is I'm hitting the bottom. There, look, found the bottom, and just giving it some quick jigs up and letting it flutter down. Oh, there's a fish. No, that felt more like a ballan rat. Oh no. Whoa. That was all about keeping it down in the main hit zone. Hooked what I thought was a ballan wrasse right on the seabed. I could tell because they'd like dug it fight and it was right tight on the bed. And then as soon as I come up off that, pollock come up and hit it. Yeah, this is just getting to the point where it's almost unfishable. I'm reluctant to leave the fish. I keep saying to myself, right, I'll try one more, and if I can't do it, if I miss the fish, then I'll go. Just always one more cast. Oh, missed it. Missed it. Got ya. Oh, another stunner of a pollock. There you go. See that thrash that it just did there? Thrashed and shook the hook. That's pointed out two things. One of them, that's why you unhook them. If the hook's anywhere inside of its mouth, unhook them with some pliers, because that thrash there will send one of them hooks straight into your hand. And the second thing it shows is that if you let up any slack, like you saw I kept the bend in the rod the whole time, if you let up any slack at all, that fish will shake and that hook will come straight out. Yeah, we're drifting at 2.7 knots. Time to go and find somewhere else. One of the pollocks earlier spat that out. That is how small the fish are that they're feeding on. That is a little tiny sprat. So it's 1.5 inches long. It's tiny, isn't it? Look. So if that's what they're feeding on, that's why I'm having to use small lures. So that's why that spinner was absolutely nailing it. We'll have a couple of drifts up and down here. We've got about an hour and a half before slack water. It was the fastest course of the tide was when we were going through there. For anybody that doesn't know, when a tide moves, when it goes from like low tide to high tide, it doesn't travel all at the same speed, like a constant increase. It moves fastest through the hours in the middle of the tide. So the tide will be moving the slowest close to low tide and close to high tide. So we've come to a different area of reef here, while the tide is absolutely coursing. And then before it drops away into Nout again, we'll go back over there. Come on, take it. Got you. Finally. I could see him playing with it. Hopefully I'll be able to show you. Whoa. That is a lovely big mackerel. That is a cracker. Yeah, I could see them playing with it, like they were chasing it. Hopefully I can put the footage in there now from what my sounder was seeing. These are the mackerel on the seabed. You can see them interacting with and attacking the lure. Then see me playing it up to the surface. You can even see the cloud of baitfish disperse and then come back shortly afterwards. Because there's so much feed around, because there's so many of them little tiny sprats, most of the fish are going to be absolutely gorged. They're going to, well, every pollock that I had earlier on, there's fish down around the lure now. It's just getting the right type of action to trigger a bite. Because if they're full, they've already eaten their fill, they'll mess around with the lure, but they don't really have any incentive to eat it because they're already full. Now they just can't help themselves. Fish sometimes, if there's like a wounded prey fish in front of it, they can't help but bite it. It's just an instinct. So if you can work your lure in the right way so it imitates like a wounded bait fish, which is like that strike and flutter, so you jig it up like that and you let it drop down so it flutters down in the water, it imitates a wounded bait fish, and they can't help but have a strike at it. So even if they're full, they can't help but having another go. What have we got? Pollock? Oh, ballon wrasse. A chunky ballon. Oh, easy tiger, easy. Right. There we are. Hook's come out in a net. Now this one has got an awful lot of gold and green in it. Like if you can see underneath there. And he has a lot of lice on him. Yeah, this guy has got a lot of lice on his head. I don't know if you can see him on there. All the way on top of his dorsals are all spikes. He's got a big one on the bottom. Whoa. Oh, he got me with that one. And splashed all over the lens. Yes. Yep, little pollock. Tell you what, for the first 10 seconds of that, I couldn't have called it as to what that would have been. A really unusual bite. Got ya. Got ya. That is a very nice fish. That was exactly what I wanted. Again, fat as butter. They are absolutely gorged. And there's the lure. Saw all that from start to finish. A cracking stamper fish. I'm going to take this one home. Whoa, have we got one? Yep. It is a nice fish. Hooks come out just that easy. And there you are. Yeah, my feeling is there's that much bait around at the moment. They're that full. They're not on the feed properly, and they're all sat right down near the bottom. You know, like with yourself, when you've had a big Sunday dinner, you get full of food and you just want to kind of lay on the sofa and watch TV, don't you? Lay in the sun. That's what I think these guys are doing. Oh, there's a fish. Wow, another scrappy pollock. They're a wonderful stamp. There you are. Well, I call that a fantastic morning's fishing. Most of it was done on my lighter setup, which is my conflict tie rubber and my Fathom low profile. And all I was using was, this is a 40 gram, but I was using 20, 30 and 40 gram jigs. Great sport. I hope you enjoyed joining me. I hope you found it interesting. All the very best. See you later.